Welcome. Title of this video is Persephone, the Maiden of Death. In this video you will learn about asteroid 399. If you have asteroid 399 aka Persephone in a conjunction to your sun, moon or rising or an inner planet, then this video is for you. If you have Persephone somewhere in the chart, in a sign, in a house, and there's no conjunction within a 10-degree orbit to anything, whether it's an angle or a planet, there is no conjunction there, then probably this video is useless to you, unless you have a friend who has this placement. Now, me personally, I have Venus in a 2-degree orbit with Persephone in a conjunction. So, therefore, I will talk about this asteroid from my experience after I have introduced the myth, and then I will talk about examples of other people that I know who have Persephone in a prominent position, and then I will summarize what this archetype actually means in the natal chart. So first of all, the mythology of Persephone is very simple. There's this girl, she was the daughter of Demeter, which is Gaia, Mother Nature. So the daughter of Mother Earth, she was on a field of corn one day, and then Pluto, the god of death, the Grim Reaper, he came along and he abducted her to make her his wife. To do that, he imprisoned her in the underworld, the realm of the dead. Then the mother of Persephone, Demeter or Gaia, aka Mother Earth, she went after her daughter to try to get her back. But she couldn't. She couldn't find her because Pluto was sneaky in how he abducted her. So then Demeter went on a strike and she let humanity starve. Because she's the goddess of health and food, she would just let the crops die. So then people were starving, and to remedy this, Zeus tried to get the daughter back. So he found out through Hermes that Persephone was abducted and raped by Pluto. So then he sent Hermes to get her back. Pluto said, okay, I'm going to let you go. But of course Pluto, again, because he's the ruler of Scorpio, he tricked her by giving her pomegranate seeds, and then, of course, she was stuck in the underworld. To remedy this, again, Demeter made a deal with Zeus that she could see her daughter for 6 months of each year, which is the mythological origin of spring, where Demeter joins Persephone again every year. And then during winter, she returns to the underworld, so then everything dies. And when does this happen specifically? During Virgo season. Actually, this whole mythology is connected to the sign of Virgo. Because Virgo is the maiden, Virgo is in the field of crops, Virgo is raped, aka Virgo loses her virginity, and then Virgo tries to get it back again by starving. Yeah, by starving, because it's fasting, so it's cleansing, detoxification, and then it doesn't work. The Virgin gets stuck, and then the Virgin becomes scorpionic. So the Virgin goes to the sign of Libra, which is marriage. Right, marriage between Persephone and Pluto, and then it turns into Scorpio, because the Virgin has become one with a scorpion. Simple. So that's actually how it works archetypically. And what is the meaning of this? How does Persephone help you to make sense of yourself in your chart? So first of all, the character of Persephone is that she was basically enmeshed with a helicopter mother. Then she was kidnapped, so she was like a helpless victim of all of this, and she didn't have any agency. So this is like a child. We're talking literally about a child, innocent maiden, who was just happy being with her mother enmeshed, but then she becomes enmeshed with another person, and then she has to grow up. She has to become an adult. So the maiden turns into the queen of the underworld, and she gets power, authority over life and death. So through this authority, there is a personality change, a change of character. And you can understand that just a little bit by studying the mythology and looking into her, because she was feared in ancient Greece. There was a cult around her in which it was forbidden to mention her name, Persephone, because she was the mistress of the one who kills the grain and the one who also decides your death. As a vegetation goddess of food and grain, she's also a goddess of the cycles of nature. So you could say she's a goddess of decay. And she's a principal goddess that tries to prevent decay, or she tries to do something about it. At least her daughter tries to get her back to life. But of course, that is the issue. Eventually, you lose control over life, right? Pluto kidnaps you. Pluto eventually comes after you. Pluto is coming for you, like I say with Saturn. Pluto comes for you. So no matter what you try, you can bleed, you can fast, you can detoxify, but you're only delaying the inevitable. Eventually, you're still going to die. So Persephone helps you to make peace with death. And this is actually why Persephone is connected to the Elysian mysteries, and there's this whole cult around there. But never mind, not to bore you with all of these details, let's get to the astrology. So, in the astrology, Persephone is about a child. So wherever you have Persephone in the chart, you're like an innocent little maiden, and you try to be virtuous. So you try to be pious, like a nun. You try to keep yourself clean. So nothing can touch you, nothing can disturb you. It's like a freeze response. It's like you stay the same, like a statue, like an object, like a prized possession. But it's also like a child of innocence. So you can see that personality of Persephone is somebody who looks at something with eyes fresh. She's not really influenced by any conditioning. Yeah, she maintains her purity. Therefore, she has access to a pure kind of consciousness. I call this plant consciousness, because she's connected to the plants, she's connected to nature, to the flowers. And the plant consciousness is very non-judgmental. It's kind of like a robot or an animal, but lower than animals. It's like, yeah, mother wants me to stay with her, I stay with her. Mother Nature tells me what to do, so I do it. Then Lord of Death takes me, so I'm gone. It's essentially about a slave who has no agency, nothing. So that's initially the personality of Persephone in the chart. And of course, if you have Persephone like me, conjunction Venus, Venus is attraction, so I attract Persephone individuals. I also find them attractive. So I have a lot to do with Virgos, because it's all the archetype of Virgo, but it comes through a dark feminine. Yes, it's a dark feminine repressed archetype of a collective. Now all these dark feminine archetypes that are able to traverse between the world of the dead and the world of the living, they are dark archetypes, obviously, just like Hecate, Lilith, and God knows who is also feminine. Like there's many also masculine archetypes that go from underworld to world of the living, but never mind that, not to bore you with the details. Let's stay with Persephone. Persephone helps you to go through an ordeal and to come back to the world of the living after you've spent some time in the world of the dead. So it's somebody who is able to let things happen to her. Yeah. Like, you know how people resist death, how they're afraid of death. Persephone is not really afraid of anything. Persephone has a naive quality. So there is a naivety to how you deal with that thing in the chart. Because I have Persephone on my Venus, I can have a very, very naive attitude when it comes to my contacts, like friends, people. I act as if everybody has their best intentions, which of course they don't. But I still act like it, knowing that they don't. But I used to be like, yeah, of course they have the best intentions. Why wouldn't they? Right. So I learned my lesson. And that's something Persephone people have to learn. That people aren't as pure as they are. That people are mentally ill. And Persephone is only interested in going along with nature. So whatever nature tells her to do, she does it. Yeah. While in its negative quotation, this is a person who has no agency. A person who is trapped like a victim or a slave. Yeah. So this actually, if you have a prominence somewhere, is very dark. Has to be very traumatic to even have Persephone in the chart, but means somebody did something very bad to you and you couldn't do anything about it. That is it. If you can't do anything about that, if you're helpless with that planet, with that thing, about your personality, about the situation, then all you can do is accept. And simply do whatever the most primitive parts of yourself tell you to do. So that's when the instincts take over. Yeah. Just allowing a different consciousness to take over. And that's something that the Persephone person channels. And this person is, she can appear quite otherworldly because that consciousness has no interest in the ego. No interest in protecting you, protecting anybody else, has no interest in achieving anything, doing anything. It's only interested in the sweetness of life, life force itself, to preserve it, interact with it, enjoy it, and then die, like a flower. Very simple. It's the consciousness of a flower. So that's where you have it in the chart. And of course I can talk about the shadow extensively, which is a person who tries to preserve their innocence rigidly. So somebody who appears very sweet and very kind and who has problems being more assertive. Yeah? Problems with will. Yeah? There's a weakness of will. And of course, where there's a weakness of will, there's a weakness of the ego. And where there's a weakness of the ego, nature takes over. And what is nature? Nature can also be psychic in origin. Because of course, it's an underworld object. It's a plutonic object. So it has a scorpionic quality. It's a water element and earth element object in the chart. So there can be some psychic gifts bestowed upon the Persephone individual, but these gifts are very rudimentary. They're all about the physical body. It's about the ability to sense whether something is good for you or bad for you. Like, is this healthy or not healthy? Because again, it's the archetype of the maiden. Yeah, all she's interested in is to survive as long as possible, be as clean as possible, just like a plant, really. Like the plant tries its best to grow and be healthy. It has no goals, has no desires, no ambitions, nothing. It's only interested in health. Yeah, so through health, you gain success. So if you have a planet conjunction Persephone, be aware that this planet will inevitably have the nature of Virgo. Now, of course, not just the nature of Virgo, because, for example, it doesn't mean that the planet means the same as if it was placed in Virgo. I have Venus conjunction Persephone, but does not mean my Venus is like Venus in Virgo, because I don't have Venus Virgo qualities. It means what you value or what you want, what you're focusing on, is what a Virgo would focus on. But through your actions, it's Persephone that takes action. And you know, Persephone is not like your traditional Virgo. The traditional Virgo person is judgmental, always try to fix everything, get its hands into you like an engineer, like a technician. Cold. The Persephone person is not cold. Persephone person is sweet, like the sweetness of the flower, like a nectar. And this is a very different frequency. Yeah, the judgmental qualities of Virgo die where Persephone is concerned. So imagine you have a Virgo, but they have the nature of Libra and Scorpio, and all these three signs, Libra, Virgo, Scorpio, you combine the energies and you put it into an archetype, and that archetype, it breaks down. It becomes destroyed. It becomes broken. Like this. Because that's what happened to Persephone. She's raped. So she's twisted. There was something twisted also about Persephone. But not in the traditional sense. Not like, yeah, now I'm raped, now I'm traumatized. No, not like this at all. Persephone deals with trauma very well. Almost too well. Like nothing ever happened. Like nothing ever happened. Like, you know, she gets raped, abducted, and then she goes back to the world of the living and back down, back up, back down, back up. Like nothing ever happened. You know how you cut a flower? You cut a stem, and then it just regrows like nothing ever happened. And it grows stronger. So you cut off one head, but then two heads, like a hydra. So don't underestimate the Persephone person. It may appear like nothing is happening on the surface, but deep down, hell is brewing. Because of course the person lives literally in hell. It's where the person is comfortable in. So that planet gets such a scorpionic kind of quality. It's like a tiny spice of Pluto. Yeah, so there can be repression. The planet can be hidden by the Persephone aspect in the chart. Hidden in what way? Well, the person tries to be sweet and nice in a way, like the nice, sweet person. So the person has to learn how to be also not just on the receiving end of pain. That's what Persephone is good in. She is like, give me the pain, I can handle it, no problem, easy. But dishing out the pain is difficult. But once she does it, the flower grows into the queen of the underworld. So then she becomes a maiden of death. In charge of death, this archetype, it helps people to die. It helps people to go through their pain. So that's what the planet is trying to do. It's trying to get people through suffering, like a psychopomp, like a guide of the dead. There's many psychopomp archetypal personalities in astrology. For example, there's Anubis. Or there's Moa, Sirius, the dog star, which is a guardian star. There's many psychopomp quality archetypes in astrology. There's also Orcus, which is another manifestation of the Plutonic guide that gets you through the dirtiest, deepest, darkest, shitty places. And that's exactly how Persephone helps you. Then there's Hecate, which is very similar to Persephone. So it's very possible that if you have a prominent Persephone in the chart, that you will team up with Hecate people. Maybe you know Hecate, Lilith, or Medusa, Algol type of individuals, and you deal with them. So if Persephone is prominent for you, be advised that you are the most compatible, rather that planet of yours, whatever that is most compatible with Scorpionic characters, Virgo characters, and Hecate, Lilith, Orcus, and Sirius characters. Yeah. I'm a Sirius Sun person also, so I actually deal with Persephone people quite frequently. Like For example, a lot of my clients who deal with a shadow persona of a sweet innocent, they come to me to get help, because the sweet innocent is the persona that you deal with when you deal with Persephone, somebody who tolerates everything, which is of course like a codependent person, which is perfect if you're working with people who suffer from narcissistic abuse, because then with Persephone you can understand what they're going through and maybe you can help them. Because you understand the whole process of what Persephone goes through, that's exactly what the codependent has to go through to get out of narcissistic abuse successfully. Yeah. So it's dealing with abuse survivors, rape victims. But not only that, also Persephone deals with childbirth. So what we call Hebamme in German. So a woman that helps you to get it out, get it finally born. Whatever, there's many ways of giving birth to a child, but also surgeons, medical doctors, or shamans. Anything in that kind of area has a Persephone function. So Persephone people, they may not necessarily be a therapist or a healer. They could also simply be a doctor or a medicine person. Because this is somebody who assists people with flowers, or with plants, or with some substance like herbs, because again, Virgo quality, to have a remedy for a problem that they're dealing with. And this is really the archetype in a nutshell, because look, it's the maiden of flowers, yeah, and she becomes the maiden of death. So flowers to deal with death, to deal with pain, yeah. So maybe there is also a connection to the poppy seed. Because the poppy seed is what you use to create opium, which is a numbing agent. Yeah, this is also a connection to Persephone. Then, of course, there's a connection to other symbols, like the grain of the crops, and the thrashing of the crops. Anything that mashes things down, like put it into a mash, like a potato mash. So it's a Persephone function. So you use food, you use something healthy, and you destroy it, and then you consume it. It has a connection to decay, which is very similar to Anubis. Yeah, I think Anubis could be the male counterpart of Persephone, because Anubis is the guide of the dead, but he helps with mummification, mummies, people who are frozen, dead at the bottom, and then he gets them back up to guide them through the underworld to reach the other side, after overcoming demonic forces, by going through the tunnel to get to the afterlife. So this is very similar to that archetype. And then, of course, there is the traditional symbol, which is quite boring because it's a traditional, which is the symbol of the pomegranate seed. So the pomegranate seed is, of course, a symbol of life. It's a symbol of vitality, a symbol of fertility, most likely. So fertility is a concept for Persephone. So there's a lot of sexuality involved, because, of course, the lot of death, which is also the lot of sex at the same time, right? Scorpio, Pluto, he wanted Persephone. He thought, this is the best I can get. So it's like, it's a bit similar to Lilith. Like the forbidden fruit, but it's not forbidden. Lilith is the forbidden fruit, but Persephone is the not so forbidden fruit. So people think they can get Persephone. So if you have Persephone prominent, people think they can do anything with you. They can play with you. Like, oh, she's just a child. We can advance. So people, they need to learn some boundaries, Persephone people. You need really firm boundaries if you have Persephone, because people are constantly trying to play you, thinking they can dominate you. To replay the theme of Pluto dominating Persephone, right? That's what happens. So, of course, you have to protect yourself to be an adult, so you don't have to deal with the unhealed version of Persephone where you're like, no, I'm too scared. I'm just do what you want. You are most important. Like a servant, like Virgo. Virgo in its shadow, the slave, the submissive one. Which of course is not only a shadow, but is also a secret kink, if you didn't know. Virgos do like to be submissive in bed, so that is also a function of Persephone. I can of course attest to that because I have Persephone conjunction Venus. So it's very likely that if you have a prominent, you may have some unusual kink in case of submission, whatever that is. I don't really like to talk about that subject, but in any case, it's something to be aware of, that there is a certain interesting sexual submissive part of Persephone, which is not a shadow, which is not bad. Don't get it twisted. Persephone likes to be taken over. In Persephone's eyes, she would have nothing more. I mean, she would prefer nothing more than having somebody else take charge. Have somebody else tell her what to do. Like, okay, tell me what to do. I don't care. I don't care. So, Persephone people are the last people to have an ego problem. That's for sure. So that's why they can also be very attractive to narcissists and predators. So be careful. Yeah. So learn how to be more assertive. Maybe check out my Mars video if you need more advice in that area. In any case, if that's all, if you have Persephone prominent in your chart and you like this video, you found it helpful, please leave a like and subscribe if you watch this on YouTube. And if you're interested in personal reading, you can check me out on Messenger, you can check out my services on my page, and you can message me anytime for a reading. I'm available 24/7. And if you like to see more videos like this in the future, leave a like and leave a comment if you like to know about a specific asteroid by request, and I'm going to make that video. That being said, thanks so much for watching and see you in the next video.